Hello YouTube viewers, Sri Tips here. I've had some anode basket filters for my electrolytic silver cell. I've had those, I've been saving those up, and I finally accumulated 6 or 8 of them. And so what we're going to do today is try to extract the precious metals from those used anode basket filters. And we're going to do that for you right now. This is impure silver shot. It's mostly silver, but silver is a carrier of platinum group metals and gold. It's added to this Dacron filter basket atop my silver cell, and an electric current is passed through it. The electric current dissolves the silver, leaving the gold and platinum group metals behind as slimes. As the silver dissolves, it passes through that Dacron filter basket and goes into this silver cell. It passes through the electrolyte there and plates out as absolutely pure silver crystal on the inside of that stainless steel bowl. And today what we're going to do is we're going to get the silver cell slimes out of these baskets for you. My electrolytic silver cell is full of pure silver crystal right now. So I'm going to begin the harvest of it by taking the anode basket out and putting it in this bowl right here. And then what we're going to do is demonstrate how to recover the precious metals out of these used anode baskets. I take my anode bar and I put that in a beaker that's full of distilled water over here. Take the cover off the anode basket. I set that aside because I'll reuse that. And then I take the slimes. It's kind of bunch of murky mess in there. This is the platinum group metals, maybe some gold and stuff, but it's the slimes that's left behind from the silver cell refining operation. I'm just going to stick it in here like that. Okay, to begin this, what I'm going to do is take one of the filters here. It's full of the slimes, and I'm going to take distilled water and just go ahead and let it rinse out into the beaker here. Get the big pieces off with some distilled water. Then once I got it rinsed off, transfer it over to this other beaker. Go to the next one. Do is add some, this is full of the slimes and distilled water. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of nitric acid and start to dissolving out the silver and palladium with dilute nitric acid.
add about, well, I guess it's going to be about 100 ml here. Place it on the heat and just let it dissolve. Medium heat. I've set up another burner in here. I'm going to add some distilled water to these used filters here, and then I'm going to hit it with some nitric acid, probably about 100-200 ml or so, and just boil these bags in nitric acid, dilute nitric acid. Both of the beakers have been on now for about 45 minutes. See the one with the filters in it, the solution's green looking. That's an indication that we're going to get some palladium out of there. And this one over here has got a green tint to it as well. So we're going to be harvesting some palladium at least out of these silver cell slimes. I'm going to give the filters here a quick stir. I'm going to add another dose of nitric acid here to the slimes on this side. I'm going to do it careful because that solution's hot, and we don't want this thing bubbling up furiously. There's still a lot of particulate matter down there. Black slimes. Now we're going to get us a nice little reaction out of it. I pulled this one off the heat. And as you can see, there's about an inch deep thickness of mud on the bottom of that 4-liter beaker. Not quite sure what all that is, but it came out of the filters. It's a lot of material. I don't know what to expect out of this, so we'll just continue to hit it with the dilute nitric acid and see what comes out of it. Both of the beakers have been on the heat now for about 2.5 hours. Get a quick temperature reading on this one here. And it's got that one up to 168.5 degrees. And then on this one, got up to 177 degrees. Now what I'm going to do is take this one off the heat. It's still got quite a bit of material down to the bottom of it. And I'm going to take this one back here that's been boiling the filters. I'm going to pour this solution right in with this other mixture here. And I get a good reaction here. If you've seen that, this is real acidic. So you got to kind of be careful. Both solutions are real hot. Add that real slow there. Okay, I think that's about enough for that. I'm going to give this a stir. Make sure that we aren't going to get a huge reaction here. Yeah, it is going to react pretty good when I go to stir it, so I've got to watch it there. Stuff's caked up on the bottom there. when it hits that hot acid, as I stir it, it reacts pretty vigorously. So I'm going to have to watch how I add this acid. Don't want to add too much, it'll boil it over. I got that pretty much, that dose of acid from the filters pretty much reacted. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the acid out of the filters now. Add slow. It's going to create a nice fizzy reaction here. I'm going to set that back on the heat, put in about half a liter of distilled water, and let that cook a little while longer to cook the rest of that acid out of those filters. Stir this up a little bit and see what we get going here. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this back on the heat and just let this react a while. Got a piece of filter paper here. I'm going to go ahead and stick the, get a little bit of the solution from the big beaker there on my filter paper. Do a Stannous chloride check right quick, just see what kind of solution we got going on in there. And looks like I got a little bit of platinum there. It's kind of an orange color and a brown color, so there's some palladium in there. Definitely got precious metals in there, so I'm going to get something out of it. The filters have been boiling now for about half an hour in just distilled water. Stir them up a little bit here. Solution looks just like a little bit of a tint of green to it. Now what I'll do is go ahead and put down the main beaker and pour that water in here. Let's give this a stir and put it back on the heat there. Just let it react. About 50 more ml of concentrated nitric acid now. And we'll just let this cook. The solution's been on now for a little over 4 hours. And I've got a bunch of solid material still at the bottom of this beaker, so I'm going to add some more nitric. Try to get everything to go in solution there. I'm going to add another 200 ml of distilled water. Got about 100 ml of nitric acid left in here. I'm going to slowly add it to the beaker and see if we can get the rest of this stuff to go in solution. Mix now with the solution down at the bottom. It contains all the particulate matter. We're getting a pretty vigorous reaction now.
The freshly added nitric tends to suspend on top of the liquid in the beaker due to the different densities of the two fluids, and the natural circulation causes it to mix and then creates this runaway reaction.
Ooh, I got lucky there. And that's what happens if you add the nitric acid too quickly. I'm right at 5.5 hours with this. This has been on the high heat. It's at 214 degrees right now. I've got some particulate matter still down in there. You can see that. Looks like pieces of silver still. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the heat off here. Let this cool down, and then I'll siphon out the solution that I've already got dissolved and go from there. I've allowed the solution to cool overnight. It's been settling overnight, and so now what I'm going to do is I've got a little tube here, fill it full of water. Put one end of the tube, I clog it up with my thumb here, stick the other end into the solution, and then just let my thumb off and let the solution siphon into the filter here. Now we can have a look and see what's down inside of this beaker left over. See, we got plenty of solid pieces left in there. It looks like it's mostly silver. But this is stuff that was in the anode baskets from the silver cell. Left over that didn't dissolve when we disassembled the cell. Looks like it's mostly silver. We'll go ahead and continue with hot dilute nitric acid treatments, try to get everything here to go in solution. Completed the filtering operation here. Here's our filter. It's got a little bit of residue on it, so I'm going to take it out of the funnel here, add it back into our main beaker. I'll put this up on the heat now. Put it on medium heat. Got 250 ml of distilled water. I'm going to go ahead and add that. Go ahead and add about, this is ice cold now, I just started this, so I'm going to add about 100 ml of nitric acid here. And we'll just cover this up now and let this cook. See if we can get the rest of those solids to go in solution. The solution's been boiling now for about an hour after that last nitric addition. And we got the temperature at 207 right now. But if you look down in here in the bottom, I can still see some pieces of silver that are undissolved. So I'm going to have to add some more nitric to get all that to go in solution. I'm going to slowly add another 50 ml of nitric acid to see if we can get the rest of this silver to dissolve. About a half an hour since I added that last dosage of nitric acid. Gonna get a temperature reading here. Got it at 217 degrees, which is really hot. I'm gonna add the remaining 20 or so ml of nitric acid here. See if we can get the rest of that stuff to go in solution. All right, we got that 20 ml of nitric in there. Go ahead and let this go and see if we get the rest of that silver dissolved. Okay, our solution's been allowed to cool now. It's below 100, that's at 82 degrees. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and filter it through a gravity filter paper here. Try to get the solids out of the solution. Yeah, I've nearly got everything out of the beaker here. It's some fine black sediment coming out. I don't know what that's going to be. It didn't dissolve in the dilute nitric. And I've got a whole bunch of silver left in here yet that I'm going to have to try to hit with some more nitric and get everything dissolved. Up on the heat, add 250 ml of water, distilled water. Turn the heat on here, medium. And over here I've got 50 ml of concentrated nitric acid. I'm going to go ahead and add that. 250 ml of distilled water in the beaker with the rest of the silver. Go ahead and pour this in now. I've got the heat set on medium. Go ahead and cover this up. See if we can get the rest of that silver to dissolve. And the filtrate in this looks real clear. It's emerald green looking. So I'm thinking there's going to be some palladium in there. Up in the funnel here I've got this black liquid that's filtering out. And the black solids, I'm not sure what that's going to be. Maybe it'll be some precious metals. We'll find out when we get some aqua regia on it. I just added that nitric acid, 50 ml, to the remaining silver in the big beaker there. We'll go ahead and let this dissolve and continue on with this process. The solution is clear and green, and the residue in the filter here, I'm going to rinse all the, try to rinse as much of the silver out of it as I can, and then I'm going to put this filter aside and process it separate later on in this video. Just kept adding small doses of nitric acid and distilled water, and I don't have any more particulate matter in there, no solids in there. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. It's got no fumes coming from it at all. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it off the heat now, turn the heat off, and let this cool down. We'll do a filtering on it. Down here I've got the solids that I filtered out of the green liquid here. And I've rinsed those all down. I'm going to go ahead and put this filter with those solids right in a separate beaker right here. And I'm going to process those separately. I've allowed this solution to cool. It's down to ambient temperature right now, which is down into the 50s probably, easily. It's down to 43.5 degrees. So we've allowed that to cool down, and I just want to review right quick where I am. This is the main beaker that had the slime. This is the beaker that had the filters in it, and I'm going to save these filters, put them over filter storage, and process them later. These are the two nitric acid extractions that I'd saved in these flasks back here, and this is the residue from the gravity filtration that I did. And I'm going to process that separately with aqua regia. And now I'm going to continue with the process right now. I'm going to start this by pouring off some of the solution in this flask into the larger flask so we can make some room in here to be able to filter this out. Now what I'll do is filter the solution out of this, the main beaker. Everything's dissolved in there. All I have is some black residue in the bottom of the beaker. I'll pour it through this filter paper and try to capture the black powder in this filter. At this point, I've got all the silver dissolved and in solution. These solutions are green. This is probably going to contain some silver and probably some palladium, and we're going to extract the palladium first out of this. This big flask here has got the same solution dissolved with dilute nitric acid. It's going to contain some silver, lots of silver, and then the green color of it tells me it's going to be full of palladium as well. We'll show you how to extract that. This filter here is going to have the solids that didn't dissolve in the nitric acid. And I'm not sure what's going to be in there, but we're going to hit that with aqua regia. Up in this filter will also be some black solids, and I'll take it out of this filter and add it to this container here, and we'll process both of these with aqua regia. The container here that was the main beaker, everything is gone into solution here except for a little metal spring down at the bottom there and another little piece. So we've got everything in solution, and what we'll do next is once we get this filtered, I'll go ahead and prepare a solution of dimethylgloxine, or DMG, and we'll extract the palladium. I've got the black solids filtered out of the solution now. There's some black residue down there. I'm going to add it to this beaker over here with the other filter that had the black residue. And we're going to process this separately. Up to this point, I've got the metals that will dissolve in dilute nitric acid in these two flasks. In this beaker, I have two filters with metals that will not dissolve in dilute nitric acid. And so we've got it separated to this point so far. What I wanted to point out is earlier I did a Stannous test, and you notice that there was some platinum in solution, indicated by the orange color of the platinum test. And some of you may be wondering, how can he have platinum in solution if all he's done is treat the silver cell slimes with dilute nitric acid? Platinum and gold will not dissolve in dilute nitric acid. That's what's going to probably be in here, the platinum and the gold. Palladium and silver both go into solution with hot dilute nitric acid. Now the question becomes, how did platinum get in with the silver and the palladium? There's one exception to the platinum not dissolving in hot dilute nitric acid rule. And it's this: if platinum is alloyed with silver, 5% platinum and 95% silver, when you put that alloy in dilute hot nitric acid, both metals will go into solution totally. It's an anomaly in refining. I don't know the chemistry behind it. Maybe some of you can leave comments and tell us what's going on there. I don't know what it is. Platinum by itself will not go into solution with just dilute nitric acid. But when it's alloyed with silver at a ratio of 5% platinum and 95% silver, when you put hot dilute nitric acid on that alloy, both metals will go into solution. That's why I've got a little bit of platinum in with my silver and palladium solutions here. Okay, before I go to Aqua Regia with these filters, what I'm going to do is I've got 150 ml of distilled water here, and I'm going to add 50 ml of concentrated nitric acid to that to make a dilute solution of nitric acid. That's 150 ml of distilled water and 50 ml of concentrated nitric acid. Now what I'm going to do is pour that in here with the filters. And I'm going to put this on the heat and let this cook for a while. Medium heat. The reason I'm doing that is to make absolutely sure that I've got all the silver extracted from that before I go to Aqua Regia. The reason for that is Aqua Regia has hydrochloric acid. If there's any silver in here, the silver will hit the hydrochloric acid and immediately convert to silver chloride. That causes filtering problems and problems with contamination of silver in with these metals. So we're going to boil this in hot dilute nitric acid one more time to make sure I got all the silver out of it. While I have the filters boiling in dilute nitric acid, I've set up my hot plate stirrer here, and I've got 150 ml of distilled water. I'm going to drop in a little stir bar here, turn that on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some dimethylgloxine or DMG. DMG will dissolve in hot water, so I'm going to put some DMG in here, and we're going to get some of this to dissolve, and then prepare to precipitate out the palladium out of the silver solutions. Now I'll transfer the silver and palladium solutions to this large 4-liter beaker. It's clean. All right, the DMG has been on here on the heat now, stirring for about 10 minutes. It's at 166.5 degrees. The solution in the beaker here is ice cold at 44.5 degrees, but that shouldn't make any difference for what we're going to do here. As I said earlier, DMG is not very soluble in water, but it will dissolve enough in hot water in order to be able to do this reaction. What I'm going to do here is slowly add the DMG while I stir. See if we get that palladium to precipitate. You see that yellow colored stuff right there? That's the palladium coming out of solution as I add the DMG. It's going to take a while for this to react. It forms a bright yellow precipitate that is a palladium salt that can be extracted, filtered out, and then refined. It'll leave the silver behind. I've got the rest of the DMG dissolved as well as I can in that hot distilled water. I'll go ahead and add it to the main beaker here. Careful not to pour the egg in with it. The palladium precipitate here is beginning to settle out, and I've got the silver and the palladium separated pretty good in that beaker. Now what I'm going to do, I've got a big filter here that I put down into a Buckner funnel, and I'm going to go ahead and vacuum filter the silver solution and get the palladium salt out of there. I started this filtering operation and looked at the filtrate. It's supposed to be blue, but it's still green. And I think what I've got is I've got some palladium still in solution, so I'm going to mix up some more DMG and add it to the big beaker here. I mixed up another solution of 150 ml of distilled water. I've used about, this is a 30 gram bottle, I've used about a third of it with this operation, including the first mixture of DMG and this one, so it's probably about 10 grams that I'll be putting into the palladium solution total with this dose and the previous dose. Alright, that dosage of DMG is up to about 165 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and slowly add it here while stirring, so we get the rest of the palladium to come out of solution. Oh yeah, there's more in there. I can see it precipitating out as I add this. Okay, I got a total of about 10 grams of DMG in here dissolved in hot water. Okay, the solution still looks green here. I'm going to go ahead and filter this out now, and then I'll deal with the solution once I get everything filtered out from this batch right here. I'll go ahead and start filtering it right now. Now this is looking much better. That's our solution with the palladium salt in it. We're filtering that out. And here's our solution. It looks blue, which is what it should look like instead of green. That'll be silver in solution with some copper in solution. So we've effectively separated the silver and the copper from the palladium. I've got all the solution filtered now. All the palladium salt has been rinsed down into the bottom of the filter there. And what I'm doing is making sure I got clear water coming through here. I do not want a bunch of silver in with my palladium salt, because when I go to refine this palladium, I'm going to be using aqua regia, and silver in there will form silver chloride and cause problems for me. So I'm rinsing this out real good with some distilled water. Okay, this flask is full, so I'm going to trade out the flasks and put a different one in its place here. going to keep rinsing this until I get all the silver rinsed out of it. Rinse it real good so we can, when we put it in the aqua regia, we don't get a bunch of silver chloride forming in the aqua regia. Alrighty, now what I'm going to do is I've got this palladium salt down in the bottom of the filter there. It's been rinsed several times with plenty of distilled water. And I'm just going to put this whole filter right into a separate beaker here. Actually, I'm going to put it in this one. There we go. Up to this point, I've got these metals separated out of the silver cell slimes. Back here I've got a bottle full of silver in solution. Here I've got the palladium extracted from that in a filter. I'm going to process that later on. And over here I've got the black solids that didn't dissolve in the hot dilute nitric acid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and filter these out now. I've had them on boiling in dilute nitric acid now for about I had them on boiling for several hours, but I'm going to go ahead and filter this off now and get the solids out of this liquid. It's got a purplish black color to it. Not sure what all is going to be in here, but we'll find out. And there's the mud that's left over. I'm going to get that down into this filter, and then we'll process this later. Alright, now I'm going to take and get a little drop of this solution coming out of this filter on a piece of filter paper here. And we're going to do a Stannous test on this and see what kind of metals we got possibly in solution. And I don't have a whole lot of reaction there. It's got a little brownish color to it. Probably just a touch more palladium in there, but not very much. Here's our solids from the hot nitric treatment. I'm going to go ahead and rinse these out now. I've got the solids filtered out now. There's quite a bit of stuff in there. Keep in mind there's two filter papers in there with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that to this beaker right here. And then this material here, this is some silver nitrate with a little bit of palladium in it. And what I'll probably end up doing with that is just saving it. I'll add some hydrochloric acid and precipitate out silver chloride, and then filter out the silver chloride, draw off the palladium solution, and put that in my stock pot. There's not enough palladium in there to go chasing after. Here's all three of the separations that I was able to achieve from these silver cell slimes. Back here I've got about 4 liters full of solution that's going to have silver in it. Here I have all the palladium that I extracted out of the silver solution. I used dimethylgloxime or DMG to extract this material. And here I have the solids from the dilute nitric acid treatments of the silver slimes, the stuff that didn't dissolve in hot dilute nitric acid. It's all been filtered out and it's in the bottom of this beaker. Okay, we're going to start with the silver. I'm going to divide the silver up in these two 4-liter beakers evenly. Now I'm going to use hydrochloric acid, convert the silver to silver chloride in both of these beakers. I've got both of these mixed up real well. I've got all the silver to come out of solution with the hydrochloric acid. Got a tube full of water here. Put my thumb over one end, put the other end in the solution I want to siphon, and just siphon it off into this waste bucket here. Switch it to the other tank. Now I fill these back up with some hot tap water, stir them, and siphon each one again. Okay, what we're going to do now is use this little handheld blender. It's got a little blade on it there. I bought this for $3 at the thrift store. And we're going to convert the silver chloride using a lye. We're going to convert the silver chloride to silver oxide. It'll be a black colored material when we get done. Just going to stick the handheld blender in here, light it off. I'm going to start adding some sodium hydroxide now. I'm adding a little bit of tap water here to help the reaction along. Now I'm going to add some more sodium hydroxide. Now a little bit more tap water. And some more sodium hydroxide. Now we'll do the next beaker here. Add a little tap water to help the reaction. Put my blender in. Add some sodium hydroxide. It took 2 pounds each of sodium hydroxide to convert these silver chloride jars to silver oxide. To do the next part of the reaction, I put the beaker down inside of a 5-gallon bucket here. Now I'm going to add some sugar to the solution down there. It's at 140 degrees right now. And you got to watch out adding this sugar. You add it too fast and you'll boil this solution all over the place. add a little bit more sugar now. One of these times is going to be the trick, and that reaction will just take off. We're up to 150 degrees on the solution now. Give it a quick stir here. And now we're getting a reaction there. See the temperature's rapidly climbing. It's up to 186. There it goes. 192, 97, 201. That wasn't too bad. There it goes. 214. It's going to boil over. That's the reason I put it in that bucket down there. 215 degrees. $220. Okay, I think the reaction's complete now. As you can see, there's our silver. That'll be some nice pure silver. Once we get all that lye and sugar rinsed off of it. Just going to go ahead and add some sugar now. Get this one to react. Goes. Now he's only up to 160. Add a little more sugar here. Gotta add this slow, or that reaction will really take off. That. There it goes. $220 on the temperature. You can see why I put it in the bucket there. If I hadn't had it in that bucket, I'd have silver everywhere.
Here I siphon the lye and sugar solution off of the silver and into a waste bucket.
I don't care if I get a little bit of the silver, because I'll be reclaiming the silver out of the bucket as well.
I rinse the silver powder with hot tap water and then siphon off that into the waste bucket.
I've got all the silver out here. I've rinsed it several times with some hot tap water, and then I let it settle. And then I'll get all this silver out, and I'll melt that up into shot, and I'll put that through my electrolytic silver cell. Judging by the amount that I've seen in the past, that's going to be just about 1 kilo, or about 1,000 grams of silver between those two beakers. Next, I'm going to turn my attention to this beaker here. It has the solids that did not dissolve in the hot dilute nitric acid treatments. I'm going to begin this process of seeing what we got in there by adding some hydrochloric acid. I'm going to put about, I'm going to fill it up to about the 200 ml level here. I'm going to turn the heat up to about medium-low. The beaker's been on the heat now for about 15 minutes. Temperature in there is 152 degrees. go ahead and add some nitric acid now, about 6 ml or so. I'm going to give it a quick swirl here to stir it up. Alrighty, the solution has been on now for about 2.5 hours. Temperature's at 170. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and I can see in there that it's got a ton of silver chloride in it. Down in the bottom, I don't know if you can see that or not very well. But what I'm going to do now is go ahead and shut the heat off and just let this settle out. The best way to get that silver chloride out of that solution is just to let it settle and cool down, and then we'll draw off the liquid on top and then just filter a little bit of the silver chloride. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. Solution has been settling now for a couple hours. I got a piece of filter paper here. Get a little bit of the solution on it and put a drop of Stannous here and see what we got in solution there. And that brown stain right there indicates we got gold in solution. The solution is cooled. It's down around 50 degrees and it's settled nicely. It's got a bunch of stuff built up on the bottom there, so what I'm going to do is siphon this into a filter flask. Okay, this solution here took less than a minute to roll through that filter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of the solution now that's got the silver chloride in it, and it's going to slow down significantly now. I got most of the liquid through, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this in now and filter the solution off of that silver chloride that's in this beaker here. Got all the gold filtered out now. What I'm going to do is pour it into another beaker here, and then we'll precipitate it with some sodium metabisulfite, or SMB. Now I'll add some sodium metabisulfite, or SMB, and we'll precipitate the pure gold out of this solution. That should do it. I'll let this settle, and we'll filter the gold out, melt it up into a button, and get a yield. Okay, normally I would let this settle overnight, but I've been working on this for 4 days now, and I want to go ahead and get this thing wrapped up this evening and get the video posted. So I'm just going to go ahead and filter this. Okay, now I'm going to transfer the gold, wet filter and everything, over here to a melt dish, and we'll go ahead and melt this into a button. I'm going to pour a liberal amount of borax onto the filter here. And then we're going to go ahead and put the torch on it and melt it up. Alright, here's our little gold bead that we got out of the filters there. Here is our little gold bead that we recovered out of the silver cell slimes there. Go ahead and put it on the scale and see how much it weighs here. 1.1 grams. 1.1 grams of pure gold. It's probably about 99%. What I'll do is I'll throw this in with the next batch of carat scrap that I refine. Okay, this will conclude the silver cell slimes video. I was pleased with the result. I was able to extract about 1 kilo of pure silver. I got 1.1 grams of pure gold, and I extracted the palladium here. The video started to get pretty long. It's over an hour long, and so what I'll have to do is refine this into metal in a separate video. So that'll be coming up. This is the palladium salt that I extracted out of the silver. I've also got an Alaskan placer gold video coming up. I got some pieces of gold here in a little vial. We're going to try a new procedure on this. I've got a bunch of watch batteries back here that I want to try to extract the silver out of. Of course, I got my catalytic converter videos I got to get started on, my stock pot, and also the pure silver chess set. So all that's coming up. I'd like to thank all of my viewers. Thanks for tuning in and watching these videos. It's important to me that you learn something from these. I read my comments daily and try to answer any questions that you might have concerning any of the procedures in these videos. So that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and good night.